Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex, the Snake Dude 1814 here, and this is probably going to be one of my most anticipated videos that I have been filming, and that would be an update on my captive bred baby Chinese water dragons. So this pair right here in my hand are a couple of 4-month-old babies. These hatched out in January 2019. That's right, January. Oh yeah, I kind of slacked on YouTube videos. Like, really badly. But let me explain myself. So first off, I posted a video last year in 2018 in October, and that was because my breeding pair of Chinese water dragons, Ozzy and Harriet, had successfully gone through a mating season. Well, needless to say, Harriet, my female Chinese water dragon, who is my pride and joy, had 32 total eggs from breeding with Ozzy. There would obviously be some infertile eggs, and a total of 24 of those eggs were fertile. Well, the last time you saw an update on that would have been in October when the first 6 of those eggs hatched. Those eggs actually hatched in their enclosure. The reason for that was due to my husbandry being flawless, perfect husbandry. Why do you ask? Because, well, Harriet is an exceptionally large female. Needless to say, when she hid her eggs, she hid them so well that the babies actually hatched in the enclosure. What happened to the other 6? Well, they're captive bred water dragons. As I've said in previous videos, Chinese water dragons 90% of the time are imported. If you go to a local big chain pet store, if they have a Chinese water dragon, it's very likely imported out of Asia. One, you can tell due to the cheap price tag, roughly between, I'd say, $30 to $60, and then obviously to just their supplier, which 90% of the time as well gets them overseas. So captive bred dragons are not easy to come by. And needless to say, those 6 babies instantly sold. I had a buyer in North Carolina who purchased my entire clutch. So thank you. Now you're probably wondering, I said 24 of the babies hatched out. I had those 6. Well then, a couple months later, in December, I had the second clutch hatch out. So this is where the story takes somewhat of a sad turn. During the time of their hatching, roughly 5 days before they hatched, my incubator actually shut down. So before you lose yourself, let me sum it up. The first 6 babies hatched in the enclosure. They were perfectly healthy. I raised them for 3 months. I sold them. Following that, I dug up the extra eggs. Like I said, Harriet had a total of 3 clutches, which these babies in my hands right here are from the 3rd clutch. The 2nd clutch, unfortunately, did not survive. What happened during incubation was we had a little bit of a electric problem in my house. The incubator shut off for roughly, I'd say, 8 to 10 hours, and due to that, the final stage of those babies' development failed. So yes, they hatched. I had 9 what I assumed at the time were beautiful baby Chinese water dragons. Well then, roughly 3 weeks later, they just started dropping dead on me. They were eating fine, but they weren't pooping. So after, unfortunately, all 9 of them died, I cut one open, and they actually did not have a fully developed stomach. So they were simply eating food, and then it would get stuck in their tummies. And so I'm going to show you a quick image. Sorry if this is disturbing, but as you can see, there's a blood blister on one of the offspring because it simply wasn't able to digest the food. And that's unfortunately what caused it to die. Now some of you guys might be thinking, but wait, the incubator malfunctioned. What about these guys? Well, as all good reptile keepers should be, I had an emergency incubator set up just in case on a different power supply, and so I quickly took all the other eggs that I could salvage into that incubator. So that's the reason why I believe these guys are doing so well. I've been playing the cards very carefully with these guys, but that is also the reason why I've held on to them for roughly 4 months, because I did not want them to drop dead on me. Out of the 3rd batch, I had a total of 7 babies hatch. So this was in January of 2019, right at the start of the new year, actually. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, check it out right here at SnakeDude1814. I was posting a ton of updates when they were hatching, and if you can't tell by this video, 4 months later, they're doing great. I have no doubt that the 2nd batch simply couldn't handle that sudden fluctuation as well as these guys did, since they were earlier in development as opposed to later. So needless to say, this group of babies is 4 months old. They are thriving. and very energetic. So that's pretty much my brief hatchling update on my Chinese water dragons. I had 3 clutches of eggs. The first clutch survived and was sold. The second clutch died on me early in development due to incubator malfunction. And the third clutch, yeah, I'm going to say it, they're already sold. As soon as I posted I had these guys hatched and they were successful, I had a ton of private buyers contact me. So while I still have them, once the weather warms up for me here in Chicago, they're going to be shipping out later. Don't worry though, for all of you guys that are purchasing young imported dragons, or if you suddenly purchased a young water dragon, I am making some care videos on how to raise up baby water dragons, just so you know what you're doing. But needless to say, I wanted to point out a couple care tips in this video while I could regarding the baby water dragons, and some of them may shock you. So first, let's take a look at some of the hatchling habitats. First thing you'll notice, they're glass aquariums. Second thing you'll notice, you cannot see out of the glass. I've said this hundreds of times, whether I'm giving a speech about Chinese water dragons at an educational event, or no matter how many times you've watched some of my previous YouTube videos, Chinese water dragons do not understand the concept of glass or a clear barrier. It absolutely grinds my gears when I see somebody put a young water dragon or an adult in a glass fish tank. Guys, they don't belong in fish tanks. They're water dragons, not water fish. There's a difference. It should be obvious, but unfortunately it's not. And so because of that, you see a lot of awful, and I mean awful, injuries to water dragon faces because they smash and rub their face against the glass. So then you're probably thinking, Alex, you're a frickin' hypocrite. Then if you're telling me not to use a glass aquarium, why are you raising your babies in glass? Well, look what I did. I simply covered all 4 sides of the glass with paper. And because of the fact that I've kept all 4 sides of the glass covered, their noses are perfect. Yeah. Don't let them see out. Let you see in. That makes no sense. So pretty much aside from covering all of the glass, you'll notice that I'm not using any substrate. And the truth is, water dragons need high levels of humidity. So when you're using a screen top on a fish tank, obviously you can use substrate, but I'll be honest guys, it's gonna get soppy with how many times a day these guys need to get misted. So I'm heavily spraying these babies 2 to 3 times a day, pretty much every 3 to 4 hours. The reason why I'm not using substrate is because what I'm doing instead is heavily spraying them so they get a massive spike in humidity, practically running water on them for 2 minutes, and then that gets the humidity up to 90%. But then, since the screen top is going to lose a lot of that humidity, the entire enclosure dries out sufficiently to where it can be sprayed again 3 to 4 hours later. And that is how you keep the babies healthy and hydrated. No substrate, constant misting. Remember, when it comes to aesthetics over the dragon health, I'm keeping these babies healthy over the niciness. And you can obviously see that. I've just got pieces of driftwood to give them different basking and UVB zones, a nice large water bowl for them to soak in, and that will be it. Some of you guys may be wondering, why do none of the care sheets online say anything about that? Because not a lot of people breed them in captivity and know how to raise them up from an egg. This is what I've been doing, and I've actually talked to the very few people I could find that have bred them, and this is what they've been doing. So half of the information that I've been using to care for these babies isn't even out there on the internet, and that's why I'm making this video. Obviously, I'm just covering some quick points. I will have a full in-depth care video on hatchling and juvenile Chinese water dragon care in the coming weeks. I promise you guys that. Because whether you'll be purchasing a dragon from me one day or you're thinking about purchasing a water dragon in general, I'm going to show you the correct way to have healthy babies. Because unfortunately, there is hardly any correct information out there on the web. In terms of feeding these guys though, this is where I get pretty serious about it. They're young. Water dragons have a very fast metabolism. I'm feeding them twice a day. It's really simple actually. I just order about 2,000 1/8 inch crickets a week, and through the total of 7 of them, they go through them very quickly. So yeah, lots of gut-loaded crickets. And then obviously I'm pounding them full of dubia roaches. I like to rotate it, so I'll do crickets one day, dubias the next day, crickets. But the idea is a lot of lean feeder insects. I don't feed them mealworms. I know I've said that you can feed Chinese water dragons mealworms, but I'm going to be honest, after looking at their nutritional information, you can feed them as a treat for adults, but I'm going to be honest with these guys, it's straight crickets and dubias. That is the best diet I found works for them because it makes them grow like champs. It's good lean protein, so they're not going to get fat. and it keeps them very spunky, as you can see by the amount of times this little one right here runs down my arm. I know it's a lot to take in from one video, and that's why I plan on making multiple videos covering every aspect of Chinese water dragons, whether you're raising hatchlings or juveniles, all the way up to my magnificent adult pair like Ozzy and Harriet. So overall, guys, this has been probably one of the most anticipated videos in regards to an update on my captive bred water dragons. I know a lot of you guys enjoy my content with the water dragons because, quite frankly, there are not a ton of people out there publicly on the web posting how to care for them correctly, let alone breeding them in captivity. So I'm hoping to provide that content for you guys who want to see. And of course, I mean, come on, how could you not love how cute they are? But as cute as they are, as I always say, beauty and cuteness has a cost, and Chinese water dragons are certainly on the costly end of the spectrum. Till then, guys, this has been Alex the Snake Dude 1814, my little pair of United States captive born and bred Chinese water dragons, and we'll see you in the next video. Adios.